Alright guys, today we have some PlayStation and Xbox news to go over and discuss, starting with what one developer has to say about the differences we can expect between the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X when it comes to games. This is something that some developers are still talking about and giving their opinions on, so I thought it would be interesting to go over what this one developer has to say now that both of these consoles are actually out. We're also talking about how many PlayStation 5 units were sold in France compared to how many Xbox Series units were sold, and there is a massive difference. We're also talking about Kojima Productions because today they are celebrating their 5th anniversary, and they were teasing some type of reveal or announcement yesterday, so I figured I would follow up on that and let you guys know what exactly is going on. And finally, we're talking about Microsoft and where the console stands in their overall gaming strategy. You guys might be a little bit surprised to hear what they had to say. So before we get into it, if you could do me a big favor, make sure you hit the like button to help the video out. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're new and hit the bell notification icon as well, so you can be notified immediately anytime a new video goes live. But it says here the Xbox Series X and PS5 are pretty evenly matched when you look at their net hardware, but both of them have advantages over each other in specific areas. Microsoft's console, for instance, comes out on top in terms of pure raw power, with a GPU of 12 teraflops as compared to the PS5's 10.28 teraflops. How will that, however, affect games in the coming years, especially those that release across both consoles? Can we expect multi-platform titles to look noticeably better on the Xbox Series X than they do on the PS5? According to Mark Aldrup, Chief Technology Officer at Head Up Games, who recently published the Clockstone-developed bridge constructor, The Walking Dead, that won't be the case. Speaking to Gaming Bolt in a recent interview about the same, Aldrup said that the gap in the two consoles will only make a difference to the AAA development studios, and even in that case, players should not expect games to look significantly better on the Xbox compared to the PlayStation. For us and most other indie developers, this is not going to make any big difference. For AAA development studios, this might result in a slightly higher performance, but this is also very dependent on other factors other than just the theoretical T-flops. I don't think that we're going to see games on the Xbox Series X that look significantly better than their PS5 counterparts. So the reason why I'm highlighting this is because I still want to follow what developers have to say. If anything, it's more interesting now to hear what they have to say now that the consoles are out. They're going to be free to talk a little bit more about them, a little bit more in depth. But I think this is important to highlight because, well, first of all, it's a developer. Okay, it's somebody who would know what they're talking about. Second of all, we have seen ever since the comparisons have been made between multi-platform titles running on the PS5 compared to the Xbox Series X, we've seen the PS5 basically have the edge in most cases, or at least more cases than people were expecting. And this has led a lot of Xbox fans to kind of get on the defense and say, look, it's just going to be this way for right now. In the long run, especially with the bigger AAA titles, that's when you're going to see the major differences. But we have a developer still letting us know, as if we haven't had enough developers come out here and say this. He even mentions the theoretical T-flop number, right? Maybe throwing a little bit of shade to Xbox's way, letting us know that there's not going to be a major difference. He said there could be a performance advantage, but if there is, it's not going to be anything significant. But he's saying don't expect there to be a difference. And again, I just find this interesting because even after these consoles are out, we still have developers going directly against what a lot of Xbox fans are trying to tell us, which is just wait till they get used to the tools, wait until you see AAA games a couple of years from now. You're going to see all of those major differences, and yet we are sitting here, you know, hearing a developer answer this question directly about games that are coming in the future, letting us know not to expect that. So I thought that was interesting. I thought you guys would find that interesting, but we're moving on from that and we're talking about how many of these next-gen consoles were sold in France. This was actually a statistic that I didn't come across until today, and it's very interesting because apparently the PlayStation 5 sold over 107,000 units in France compared to the Xbox Series X and S only selling about 37,000 units. So it says here, last month saw the launch of the new consoles from both Sony and Microsoft, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S respectively. Despite everything that's going on, both companies managed to move their machines to the market, and the PS5 has been setting records in various regions. We now know what they did in France, and they aren't too far off from what you'd expect. Sony sold over 107,000 units in the region, which would make it the biggest console launch in French history, managing to just beat the Switch's previous record of 105,000 and handily was over Sony's last system, the PS4, which actually sold 90,000. Microsoft cleared just over 37,000 units in the region, which was quite a bit down from the Xbox One, which sold around 50,000 units. The ratio and trend is in line with another European country, Spain, and we actually did cover those numbers. And so, we could easily sit here and say, well, maybe Microsoft would have cleared more than 50,000 units if they had more units to sell. I'm not sure if the Series X is completely sold out or the Series S in, France. I'm assuming they are. It seems like these consoles are sold out literally everywhere. So who knows, if they did have more units available, maybe they would have cleared that 50,000 mark. But still, it's just never a good look when you're not able to beat your previous record. But Microsoft did do a simultaneous worldwide launch, so they were most likely spread a bit thin this time around. But looking at what the PlayStation 5 was able to do, once again, breaking a record. And it just goes to show that the growth with PlayStation is substantial and it's significant. And that makes me happy because I like what PlayStation does and I want to see them get bigger and bigger, because the bigger they get, the better they're going to get. And, more people that are supporting PlayStation and what they're doing right now, the better the chances are that in the long run, we see more single player story driven games, as well as some really amazing console hardware developed. So just wanted to let you guys know about that. But now we're moving on and talking about Kojima Productions. Unfortunately for me, I got a little bit ahead of myself. I know that I have a tendency of doing that, and a lot of people, kind of make jokes about me because of that. But, I did find it a little bit strange that they were kind of making a big deal about their 5th anniversary. It is a big deal for them, of course, and I'm happy for that. I think Kojima Productions, it's great to see them being independent, but I was just very excited, at the idea of, wow, maybe they're going to tease something new. Maybe we're going to get a glimpse of what's coming next from their studio. And I don't think it's very fair to make it seem like I was the only one who is anticipating that. And to be fair, I did make everybody aware that it might not be anything significant. And so Kojima Productions did let us know that they're not announcing a new game as part of their 5th anniversary celebration. Instead, they kept it pretty tame. They were thanking everybody. I think Hideo Kojima showed off a custom pair of shoes that he was gifted, which did look very cool. They were Death Stranding themed. They released some new wallpapers. They released some new merch. So it's not like there wasn't anything, but it certainly was very tame compared to what people were hoping for. Because anytime this happens, obviously people immediately go to, it's going to be a new game. And even I have a tendency of doing that. And it's just because we're excited. A lot of us are big fans of Kojima Productions, and we're just eager to learn what's next, what is beyond Death Stranding. And I thought that the most realistic thing was possibly getting an update for Death Stranding, such as like a PS5 patch, DualSense support, something along those lines. But as of right now, we haven't heard anything, which is unfortunate, but there you go. That's what they announced today. So I'm sure we're going to learn more about what Kojima Productions is working on sometime in 2021. But to end this video, I want to just let you know what Microsoft is saying about the console and the role it plays within their strategy going forward in the gaming division. So it says, for years, many have been talking about the end of game console cycles, but according to Microsoft, Xbox consoles have actually become the foundation and cornerstone of its strategy going forward. Will this console generation be the last console cycle as we come to know it? This is the question that many have been asking for quite some time now. Many expected the last generation of consoles to be the true last console cycle, especially with Microsoft heavily investing in the cloud and its game subscription service, Xbox Game Pass. These expectations proved to be wrong when Microsoft announced the Xbox Series X. Will Microsoft release another console after this generation? This remains speculation for now, but at this year's Barclays 2020 Global Technology, Media, and Telecommunications Conference, Microsoft might have let us know what's to come. When asked about the console's future, Xbox Chief Financial Officer Tim Stewart said that physical Xbox consoles have become really important for Microsoft's business model, and the console having become a piece of the puzzle of the company's strategy. So he says, I think over the 20 years that I've been here, we've sort of said this is the last console generation for a while. But really, what it turns into is the console becomes the cornerstone and the foundation of our strategy. The console has a world where 3,000 games work on the console, and to Catherine's point, you can lift and shift those teams into xCloud. You can stream them out of the gate. You can put them on our Azure data centers, reach 90% of the world's gamers with the geo footprint we have because of that strengthened console. Having that content pipeline, which I know we'll talk about in a second, having games built, having the community of players there, that console piece of the business is so important to have out of the gate, which we're very, very excited about. The Xbox executive acknowledged that this generation is different compared to previous generations, which reflects in the way Microsoft approaches its console exclusives. But yes, it's a very different cycle. One of the things I'd highlight here too is some of the differences is when this time around we think about console as a piece of the puzzle as opposed to the puzzle itself. We're not doing things like making Halo Infinite exclusive to the next-gen consoles, but doing things like making our controllers exclusive to these generational consoles, which really puts the user at the center. So, you know, he's making it clear here that the console still has a role at Microsoft when it comes to gaming. And I just wanted to take time to highlight this because I do think it's important. I know that I'm very hard on Xbox, and my expectations for Xbox have been pretty low recently, and they've been letting me down in certain areas, and I still feel as though I'm waiting for them to really do something great with, you know, the next generation of gaming. But I do think it's important to highlight this, and I'm glad they're saying this because, you know, if they were actually planning to kind of cease console support, they wouldn't be really answering the question in this way. They would just say, well, we have a console and that's that. But they're saying that for them, it's still and seemingly always will play a vital role. And that's good because even though the demand for Xbox consoles isn't really that high, I think it's still in their best interest to continue producing them. And, you know, I do hope that the Xbox sells better, just like I hope that the PlayStation sells better. I hope consoles sell better in general because the higher the demand for console gaming, well, the longer it's going to stick around. And that's my favorite way to experience games. So I just wanted to highlight this because, again, I know we're hard on Xbox, but at least they're still actively letting everybody know that they support the console and it still plays a role within their gaming division. As he puts it, it's not the puzzle itself, but it is a piece of the puzzle. And I think we can all agree that with the way things are going, the direction gaming is moving in, yeah, you know, the console's not always going to remain at the center, right? Not everything is going to revolve around it, but I still think it will always play a prominent role within gaming. So that's going to do it for the video, guys. Be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Leave the video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.